What's up guys, Bo here again, and I wanted to extend on the video I made last time, which was about being brave and trusting in yourself, right? Because we live in a society, like I said, where fear is the prominent energy, so a lot of us find ourselves stuck in a reality that doesn't really fulfill us, and we've been taught that that's just the way it is, and that we shouldn't get too excited about life because it's not really going to change that much. And because of that conditioning, we spread this energy onto other people, and thus we all fall into this societal holding pattern where everyone is unfulfilled. No one really trusts that life can be better. No one trusts in their own capacity, in their own potential to make their lives better and the lives of everyone else, right? So really, I want to follow along the same lines as that video, but today I want to talk about basically just the one thing that's the biggest shame in the mindsets of people nowadays. The biggest shame that we all have really is the inability to see ourselves as successful or as talented or skilled, or just successful. Many people cannot see themselves as someone who could potentially be successful, right? And this is basically, an extension of this idea of being brave and trusting, because when you go through enough of this, when you actually put your foot down, and kind of begin to trust yourself, begin to listen to that inner voice that tells you, actually I want a better life than this. It then becomes kind of, you then start to get feelings of greatness. I mentioned about this feeling of greatness that people have when they're inspired, when they have that vision for a better future and a better life for themselves and people around them. You start to feel that sense of greatness, it's not necessarily a self-centered thing, although it very much is. It's just this energy where you start to become excited, basically. Instead of feeling the default of scared, numb, feeling like there's no meaning to life, feeling nihilistic. I don't really have to describe it, because everyone lives with this default energy in society. But then as soon as you tap into this realm of possibility, your feelings start to change. You start to become expectant of life. You start to be like, what if it was possible? What if it was possible to change? And then you start to, your thinking becomes bigger. Your visions become more clear, and you start to move up vibrationally into the space of possibility and hope, right? And once you get there, you'll notice just how shitty, the default energy is. But the fact that so many people are steeped just beneath the surface, even in this fucked up energy of fear and the energy that's not going anywhere, the beliefs, the paradigms, the mental paradigms that dictate that life isn't going to go anywhere. There's no point trying. Let's just give up. Let's just live it out, and then that's it. And that's the thing that holds us back, right? And you'll notice this when you move into higher vibrations, in terms of your thinking, also the way you feel about yourself and the way you feel about life. And really, it's such a shame, when you're in my position, because I'm in this position, right? I may not be successful just yet, but it's like I have that drive now, to be successful and to really spread my ideas, because I believe my ideas are valuable, very valuable, right? And from my perspective, it's like I see people and it's like, I mean, it's fair enough, like, it kind of makes sense, right? One thing is you kind of fight against this, like, quite a lot, as I have in my life, like, people in my life who are close to me who persist that, you know, I'm being silly, basically, you know, I'm being kind of overly idealistic. And I really just want to shake it out of them. But, like, you know, and like I've been fighting that like for so long. But it's like eventually you recognize that, you know, they kind of like, it makes sense from their perspective, and that's what makes it even more frustrating, right? But like, it's such a shame that people aren't able to see themselves as people who could potentially be successful, because that's ultimately, I mean, if you were to say to someone, right, you know, like, what if, you know, if you had no kind of, if you could drop all of your responsibilities in life right now, and you could, and I said to you, you know, if you did this, like, or if, you know, I can see that you're really passionate about this, about personal development, about societal improvement, about pursuing your passion and developing your art or your skill. You know, I can see you're passionate about it, and I can tell you that if you stick with it, if you just do that, you know, like in a short matter of time, you'll be successful, right? You'll be famous, and there's no kind of fear, there's no chance of failure, so you can just go and do it, right? You don't have to worry about failing. Like, would that sound like a good idea? And unless you're really like, you're one of those weird hipster like people who like really identify with, like, you know, the whole kind of nihilistic vision of life where, like, you know, you're worth less than a piece of shit or something. Like, most people would be like, yeah, that sounds like a really fucking good idea, you know, like, but then, you know, the phrase then always comes, you know, the kind of, you know, the phrase, it's like, but that's not reality, right? And it's such a shame, because it may not be reality right now, but they just don't see, you know, the potential for them to become someone successful, right? And that's kind of part of the reason why people tear down other people. It's because they don't have this belief for themselves, and so they don't, you know, and kind of by extension they don't believe in other people who could be famous, right? They see successful. They see successful people as there's like people of a different breed. Like, they're almost like a different species of human. They're like almost not human. Like, they don't identify with even the potential of like, you know, the potential kind of visualization of what it would be like to be successful, right? It's just kind of like they separate themselves. They draw a line. They cut themselves off from this success, this pool of successful people, because of a whole manner of rationalizations and excuses, right? And so these successful people, this group of successful people, these celebrities, these people who are like masters at their craft, that are widely recognized in that way, they were lucky, right? They just drew the lucky ticket in the lottery of life, you know? They had a good upbringing. They just were blessed with this talent or this intelligence. They, you know, like, they had the support, you know? They had just like things in their life worked out for them. Me, I don't have that luxury. I don't have that luck, you know? You know, and like, looking at you don't either. Like, you're different from them, you know? Like, they just have that luck, you know? And it's like, but when you really dive into, you know, when you really visualize, you know, what it's like to be a successful person, it's not about luck, right? It's not about necessarily, you know, some people who are successful got there because they had like a foot up above the rest of people in a certain way, but, you know, like, and that's good, but like, that's not what made them successful, right? Even if someone is talented, or they, you know, they have, you know, like, just like you know, an area of expertise that they're really knowledgeable about, they still have to go through the process of becoming, you know, a successful person, which involves a lot of hard work and determination and bravery and trust in themselves, right? They didn't get there. Like, imagine, like, they didn't get there, like, by snapping their fingers and then suddenly they were there, or like they were just born that way. That's the thing I really fucking hate, is when people say, oh, they were just born that way. It's just like, no, motherfucker, they were not born that way. They might have been born with a slight advantage in some ways, but like, the road to success involved a lot of hard work. It involved a lot of determination. It involved a lot of bravery and determination in the face of people, because they had this as well. People who like would tell them that no, just to give up. It's not like that. Life isn't like that. You know, you don't get lucky all the time. The people who are successful are lucky. You know, you might not be so lucky. You know, so why bother? You know, you're just destined to fail. They had to strive through that, right? Just probably years of that. People telling them that it can't be done. People telling them, thinking that, you know, they're just trying to do them a bit of good, you know, from their perspective. And it makes sense from their perspective. But, like, still, they had to fight through that before ultimately they hit success, right? And it wasn't like this one-off event, like, oh, suddenly I was sitting with this talent I have, and then in a year, I'm suddenly a millionaire, or like I'm suddenly really famous, or I'm suddenly really, renowned, like globally renowned. It doesn't fucking happen like that. But people just like, because they don't trust, they don't see this, right? They don't have that bravery, or that I don't really know how to describe it even, but like, they just don't have that kind of drive, or like curiosity, wonder, you know, that innocence that is often seen as a bad thing, but like, you know, that innocence to visualize yourself as someone who could potentially be successful, you know, that could potentially do something great, that could potentially offer a lot of value to other people, you know. There's just something that's stopping them from seeing that, right? And, you know, it's not like, I'm not saying that, obviously, you know, from my perspective, this is how I see things, but obviously I also understand what it's like to be like that, because I was like that, right? You know, I had an upbringing that was very much focused on just doing the safe thing in life, you know, and that was just all that she wrote, you know. And I grew up like not ever, like daring, you know, I was so scared to imagine what it would be like to, you know, to even go in the direction of what I wanted. Like, even the thought of that was so frightening. Like, I was so paralyzed for 20 years of my life. Like, so I really understand, like, I really, really, really understand, like, what it's like to be like that, you know? So, like, I don't want to be, like, particularly, like, critical of people like that. It's just a massive shame, you know? Like, you could be so great, like, you know, everyone. I'm not just talking to the ones who are obviously talented, because there are some people who are just obviously talented at things that are obvious, right? But there are some people who are good at things that aren't necessarily societally valued or whatever. But like, I assure you, like, you just need to kind of feed into it and believe and trust and be brave. And, you know, eventually you will find a way. Like, you will find a way, right? To give you an example, basically, like, I've said in previous vlog entries. I've said in previous vlog entries that, like, my first kind of pursuit in the area of my passion was music, right? I did a course in music production, right? And I did that for 2 years, and I came out of it ultimately really, really, really kind of disappointed. Like, disappointed and kind of just confused, because, like, I thought that, like, at the time when I applied to the course, like, everything was like, oh, I'm going to be doing this, like, I love this, you know, my life is going to be so great because I'm actually allowing myself to do something that I actually enjoy. And it may backfire, but, you know, I still want to do it because I've got one life and it's so short, and I just want to do it, right? But ultimately, I came out of it, and it's like really dejected, you know. I was like, it's that feeling where you do it and you find out that it's not really going to work out for you, you know, because, like, I don't know, like, the music industry itself, you know, after kind of seeing it from the inside, as it were, like, I just discovered that it didn't really appeal to me, you know. because it's an industry, so you have to really like approach it in a certain way, and like music has always been very personal to me, and like I didn't feel that I would be able to like really sacrifice my own kind of personal feelings towards music enough to kind of like to go at the grind to become successful in the music industry. So after those years and many months of pondering and just like being very confused and depressed, like honestly, like but I kept at it. I kept believing that like this would work out as long as like I just keep figuring it out and just keep going. And now I've basically discovered like a path to success. It's going to be through writing, right? And this is ultimately what I want to do. I want to be in the personal development field. Teaching about valuable ideas, inspiring people. I want to do this ultimately as my main career. But now I have another vehicle through which to do this, which is writing, right? And this completely came out of left field because like I'm never really identified as a writer, but I've always known that I've been like really talented at writing. It's one of those things that you just kind of can do without even thinking about it really. Like obviously there's still effort involved in it, but like it's one of those things like, whereas with music I had to like actually learn skills. Like I've had to teach myself piano, and I'm pretty good now, but like I'm still like not good enough in my opinion. Production wise, I had to learn all about software and like DAWs and all this stuff. I'm not going to bore you with it if you're not like a music producer, like with all those terms and technical terminology and stuff like that. But but like it's like I never saw myself as a writer, but then suddenly it just kind of came to me. It's like, wait, I can write really well. It's one of my innate talents, right? It's something I can do without really thinking about it. So why not do that? If I want to make money, I can use this skill, this innate talent that I have to do that, and then I can see how this will transition into my ultimate career, my main career, which is like the field of personal development, by writing books about personal development, right? And then everything just kind of slid into place because I never gave up, right? I continually kind of like quested internally for that truth, for that possibility, to find a way that it's done, right? And this is just kind of I just felt like telling that story to you, but really this kind of is a step after that, right? You have to work out how you're going to do this in a real world capacity. But the first step is to be brave enough to kind of let yourself have these visions, to let yourself have these ideas come to you, this energy, this positive energy of possibility, right? And if you keep doing that, then things will turn out well. But like, I kind of slipped away from the kind of central topic of this video. I really wanted to express, just like how much of a shame it is that people can't see this kind of thing. They can't see potential. They can't see their own potential to be someone successful. And so like they kind of inadvertently do it to other people. They inadvertently also kind of derail other people. Like again, it's not their fault ultimately, like in the sense that they're not doing it consciously. It's just because of these subconscious kind of belief systems and thought patterns that kind of get them to think that not rocking the boat is probably the sensible thing to do. But it's not going to lead to a life of happiness, I'm afraid. It might, again, I'm not going to judge, but I just wanted to put that out there and to get you thinking. So cool. I hope this video has been helpful to you, and be brave, and keep believing. So cool. I will catch you in the next entry. Peace.